Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com also. But the debate is very strained and weird. So there's this no land beyond. He hasn't emailed me yet. I don't know why he can't find my email or something. Because he claims he wishes to have some sort of debate. Alright, so let's have a debate. And he keeps using these words like somebody's not dealing with his argument and all this bullshit. So it's all just this silly rhetoric. So he writes all this crap, and only 2% of it will be on the actual subject. So I will try to read it without reacting to all of the wasted time where he, has to do this silly insulting part. And I'll just refer to him as man with banana in ass. Okay, so man with banana in ass. All right, states. What the hell happened? There it is. I'm staring at your latest masterpiece of misinformation. So all this wasted time, and I find myself oscillating between profound pity and intellectual nausea. I have returned not with an apology for your previous butchery of linear mechanics, so says you, but with a new, even more embarrassing manifesto. Well, just keep wasting my time. This time, declaring that rotational physics is a litany of underdone experiments. Yes, please just link to the fucking evidence. So if you can show us 3 times the force to do, 3 times the force to do 9 times, 3 times the force producing 9 times the force producing 3 times the motion, or 3 times the motion producing 9 times the work. Show us, and it's all over, you liar, you sack of shit. Anyway, you claim that physics has never bothered to spin weights on a stick. Yes, it hasn't. Obviously not in the way that's going to prove the point. They do it in all kinds of ways to evade the experiment that would be critical. Sir, have you ever seen a car tire? Oh, God. Yeah, I used to balance car tires. That's exactly why I'm making these arguments, that I know you can balance a big giant weight in one place with a little tiny weight in another place. A ceiling fan, a hard drive platter, a washing machine. Okay, just keep talking shit. Show us the fucking evidence. Anyway, the sheer audacity to type physics hasn't done the experiment. Well, then show it to me. Show me where they claim it goes 1.4. I'm just saying, if I put a 2 mass 2 distances on a wheel, it's going to be the same mechanical momentum required, the same energy to push it, as if I put the 2 mass at 1 distance. And that's the absolute truth, and I want you to show me that otherwise is true, you fuck. Anyway, God damn it. I mean, you don't understand this is about showing evidence? We need evidence. That's the only thing that's going to resolve any of this is fucking physical evidence. Can you show any fucking physical evidence to defend what you claim to be true? God, I can't be such cunts. Anyway. The entire industrial revolution. I'll just read in a silly voice because you're just being fucking wasting time with this silly shit. The sheer audacity to type physics hasn't done the experiment while using a computer powered by trilobytes of spinning of thousands of revolutions per minute and turbines designed to use the information claimed blah 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 blah. None of it has to do with anything that's this argument. So just show me, again, just show me your kinetic energy theory doing work, you fuck. Show me one fucking experiment, okay, that's consistent with your silly fucking theory. You fuck! God, I can't believe this dishonesty. So anyway, let us dismantle your premise with the surgical precision. Oh, God, shit, fuck you. You posit 3 scenarios involving masses on a rod and claim Newtonian physics predicts they all require the same energy to spin. Yes, it's all the same momentum. This is a lie. Well, you say it, but you won't show me it's a lie. That's the whole argument. Where's the experiment, fuckhead? Who's did the experiment, you fucking piece of dirt? All right. It is not a misunderstanding. It is a fabrication. You're confusing Newtonian physics. Well, yeah, just shut up and get to a point. You are relying on primitive pre-1800. God, just show me the fucking evidence, you fucking piece of shit. So essentially linear momentum, attempting to apply it to rotational kinetic energy. Newton himself, blah, 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 blah. You're going to lie about Newton now. Newton himself, and certainly the physicists who followed him like Euler, yeah, which Newton would not have agreed with at all, because Euler basically was just turning Newtonian physics into Leibnizian physics. You lying scum. Anyway, and Lagrange fully understood that rotational dynamics are governed not by mass alone, but by the distribution of that mass. It's the law of the lever, you fuck. A stick is a lever. It's a fucking lever. It obeys the law of the lever, you fuck. God damn. This is called, you can call it the moment of the hobgoblin. So that's what we'll call it from now on. You know, the moment of inertia. It's the moment of the hobgoblin. Okay. We don't have any evidence of this hobgoblin moment. In your first scenario, you have two masses, 2 units. No, a two mass of 2 units. You have 2 masses of 2 units placed 1 unit from the center. Yes, bravo. The rotational inertia is defined as the sum of the masses times the distance squared. Says you again. So where is your evidence that that's the energy required? Show me first that that's the force required to move them, and show me that then when they're moving that that has anything to do with the truth. So just keep lying, okay, about a premise that you have no evidence to support. All right. So look, there's no point in typing all this shit. You're not going to show any evidence proving that twice the velocity is 4 times the velocity, because it's not. All right, read that again. Fuck you. Distance squared, says you. For the first stick, the inertia. So you're just telling me what your kinetic energy says, which is absolute nonsense. I'm saying exactly the opposite, and then the whole point you're disagreeing with is that there's no fucking evidence, and the fact is there's no fucking evidence. You can't show me the experiment working your way, you dumbass. God damn it. You seem to think this is equivalent because the mass times distance. No, I think it's actually, I don't even bother with the mass times distance. All I multiply is the mass times the velocity required to move it that distance. And that always works. Let's see, the first moment of mass, so whatever, the first moment of hobgoblinness is the same. But rotational physics is governed by a second moment of mass. The second moment of mass, whatever that means. It's governed by the second moment of mass. The second double hobgoblin. The hobgoblin squared. I mean, this is just so ridiculous. The inertia here is 5 times 4 squared plus 5 plus blah, 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 blah. We already know that the two formulas don't come up with the same answer. So yes, if you agree with momentum, everything's conserved. If you agree with kinetic energy, nothing is. Alright, do you see what just fuck you? The second stick is 4 times harder to spin than your first stick. Yes, you say so. So again, it's just exactly my point. That's what you say. Where is any evidence on this planet indicating that is true? That somehow light things are incredibly hard to push? Because I can just point to the gun, where the little light bullet somehow gets 1,000 times more energy than the recoil of the gun. Somehow the little bullet is really easy to move. So how come the one mass on further out on the stick is so hard to move? If light things are so hard to give a high velocity to, why does the gun find it so easy? Oh, you people are just such scum. Alright, so anyway, this is just a waste of time. Do you see what just... No. Another acceleration so he's just telling me what I already know. We already know the two theories disagree. The argument is, can you... You've had 300 years, 350, 400 years to prove this fucking nonsense theory. Has your physics produced any physical evidence? And the answer clearly is no. Now let us address your third scenario. The one you claim will process wildly. Yes, obviously. By kinetic energy. If kinetic energy was true. Obviously, by momentum, it's fine. There's no problem. The one mass, 4 distances, moves exactly the same, with the same impetus, okay, as the 4 mass at 1 distance. I assume you meant process. Yeah, that's what I meant. But it doesn't matter. Process, whatever. Potatoes, tomato, banana up your ass, frog up your ass, same difference. Though I doubt you know what the word really means, or I just waste more time. Okay, you have 4 units of mass, 1 unit of distance. Yeah, we did all of this. We already know the two theories don't match. Well, this is just such a waste of fucking time. Alright, so let's see what. The center of mass is exactly at the point of pivot. Now to calculate the centrifugal force of the held blah 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 blah. None of this means anything. So again, you're saying the law of the lever doesn't work. Prove it. All right. You claim that the difference in energy will cause it to crash is the hallmark of someone who treats energy as a vector. Duh. Energy is a scalar quantity, says you, with no fucking evidence. None on this planet. This hobgoblin, scalar, magic, poofy, whatever, energy and no direction crapola that only the dumbest motherfucker. I mean, I don't even know how. There's no dignity you can save. You know, when this is all over and I'm proven right, there's no dignity you're going to be able to save because of this scalar concept. How are you going to defend yourself saying, well, you know, I thought it was, well, you know, yeah, okay, it's completely magical. I mean, it doesn't, how can you have magnitude in no direction? That doesn't make any sense at all. But, you know, it's so scalary. I honestly thought it was reasonable. No, you can't honestly think it's reasonable. It's not possible to honestly think scalar is a reasonable word. That you can have magnitude in no direction. Anyway, it does not have to. He says it right here. It does not have a direction. Oh, I mean, it's just so fuck you to the whole concept of a rational universe. All right, the kinetic energy in the other mass is indeed higher, says you, 16%, 16 times higher, blah, 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 leading to a total system inertia of 20 units, blah, 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 blah. It's only 4 times, not 20, but whatever. All right, the focus is the forces are balanced, the torques are balanced. The fact is one side has more joules than the other side is irrelevant to the mechanical stability of the axis of rotation. So isn't that a joke? He's saying the fact that there's more energy on one side doesn't mean anything, can't cause any problems whatsoever. I mean, it's just so fucking silly that somehow you could have an oscillator or a spinning object and it can have completely disproportional energy and it won't process. Okay, of course it will. That's why a lightweight propeller blade can balance a heavy hub on the geometry is correct, whatever that even means. This is why you can balance engines. Oh, fuck you. You don't balance an engine doing this. You can't possibly put more mass on one side of the fucking propeller than the other side in any other than perfect law of the lever ratios. If you do anything outside of the law of the lever ratios, your propeller's going to fail catastrophically, and you goddamn know it. Oh, yeah, I can't believe how dishonest this fucker is. Jesus, need a break. Just what it is. This is a waste of time, right? I mean, it's just a waste of time. So he did nothing but illustrate the fact that, yes, we completely disagree, and you can provide no evidence. I can't provide it either, because, yeah, physics hasn't done the experiments. And you think that's okay. There's no reason to do these experiments, right? There's no reason to actually test any of this crap. Who the fuck thinks testing means anything? What value could that possibly have? Oh, God, you people are just... You're incredulous. Your dishonesty is just fucking amazing. Alright, leave us continue. Alright, so this eventually, I'm just reading a little tiny bit ahead, we'll actually get to a good point where he actually argues that this is an experiment done where it hasn't been done. Okay, this is always the problem. Every time they do one of these experiments where they're going to measure energy, what they do is they drop a weight in gravity. And then what they're doing is they're dropping the weight slower in gravity. That is, have it tied to a string and force it to produce some sort of motion. So now the mass isn't dropping free fall. It's not collecting the same amount of gravity because obviously it's going to be in the gravity longer because it's not going to be allowed to free fall. So it's just obviously idiotic. So and the sole point is that there's no experiment showing it in any other way than your false assumption that gravity is the same no matter how fast you move something. So no matter how fast I lift this, I do exactly the same work, which is idiotic. You moron. No matter how fast I slide across the thin ice, I'll always fall through. That's your theory. My theory is, no, that isn't how it works, asshole. All right. You state that modern physics claims 4-to-1 difference in energy required. No, simply doing the math correctly claims that. Well, whatever. See, again, they just keep claiming these formulas are correct, and that the whole point is there's no evidence that your formula is correct. There's no evidence that a v squared ever happens. So keep lying. Okay. There is no modern versus Newtonian divide here. Well, yes, there is, and there was for 150 years. So keep, again, lying about the goddamn fucking truth, the historical facts. The historical facts are people argued this shit for 150 fucking years. All right. Classical mechanics and the physics of Newton account for the radius squared. No, they don't. Newton never said it, so keep lying. Again, where you'll never find it anywhere in Newton where he squared, okay, the distance and said law of the lever doesn't work. He knew the law of the lever and he knew it worked. All right, if you actually read the Principia and the textbooks written after it, you would know that the resistance to change in rotational motion depends heavily on how far the mass is distributed from the center. And again, you're going to keep arguing that because you said so, because they had to say it. Obviously, it would make no sense. They can't pretend to have a kinetic energy theory if you don't break everything to fit your theory. So clearly you broke the law of the lever. And you're saying the law of the lever doesn't work. When, of course, it does. It is a law. It's a perfectly sensible law that worked for thousands of years. And you're just lying about the circumstance. Okay, and he says this is why figure skaters spin faster when they pull their arms in. No, they don't spin 4 times faster. So there's no evidence of this quadratic increase. So you just lied some more. What there is a tiny increase in motion when they pull in because they're adding a little bit of force. And there's a little bit loss of energy when they pull out because they're releasing force. They're expanding it. But the fact is, there's no quadratic increase. So just lie some more. They don't spin. If I go from holding my mass out here and I pull it in, I don't quadratically increase my velocity, liar. And that doesn't happen, liar. All right. I don't quadratically increase any v number. Okay, any velocity. The velocity is not 4 times the velocity. They are reducing their moment of inertia, reducing the r in the equation. And it's just a lie to say you have any fucking evidence that it's quadratic. The conservation of angular momentum dictates they must speed up. Yeah, we're not talking about speeding up. We're talking about speeding up fucking 4 times as much instead of twice as much, jackass. If your theory were true, that only masses and linear velocity mattered in the simple linear sum, figure skaters would not accelerate. Why wouldn't they fucking accelerate? You've brought a mass, okay, from one position to another position, okay, that is much easier to spin in, okay? So obviously it has less weight. And so you already have the velocity. So why wouldn't it double your velocity by my theory, you fucking liar? If I did it on a spinning disc and I had this thing spinning and the mass was on the outside and I just poked the mass, okay, and forced it on the inside, further on the inside, yes, it's going to accelerate, you liar. God, you're such a, it's bad enough, but, all this lying. All right, the fact that they do is a direct living refutation of your entire worldview. So you're just such a fucking liar. You have no evidence that if I hold 2 weights out here on a chair and I spin, that if I pull the weights in, my velocity will proportional to the amount of weight I've. All right, so we do have a comment by the beneficial lying scum fucktard who posts on a board that doxes me while I'm deplatformed from the same platform. So you think you're some kind of decent human being? No, you're a fucking piece of scuzzy garbage. But anyway, I'll answer your questions. Maybe you could visit a university. Now, why was this my obligation? Again, it's 350 years since Leibniz proposed that 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is the same impact force as 1 pound dropped 4 feet. Now the fact is 1 pound dropped 4 feet is only twice the velocity. So again, it proves your case, right? In the sense that you're saying 2 things with completely different momentums. One of them has twice as much momentum, and you're going to say they will do the same work. And in 350 years, you haven't produced a fucking experiment demonstrating it? And then you're going to tell me that it's my job? You don't see how that's just glaring duplicity? And that I have every right to call your theory a religion, because just like a religion, it has nothing to do with proving anything, showing anything, demonstrating anything. It's just storytelling. You're telling me it's the truth. You're not showing me it's the truth. And you think that's good science, right? Just tell me. You think it's good science to tell people what the truth is rather than show them the truth. Fuck you. You know this is all fucking... So look, you're just making yourself so obvious. What, they don't film anything? What the fuck are you talking about? There's no university experiment that isn't online already. So show me. Link me to the fucking experiment demonstrating any of this crap. Show me the experiment where they spin something with the masses on the outside, where the law of the lever fails. Show me the experiment where the law of the lever fails when it comes to rotating objects. Show me. You liar. To put this in capital letters, you fucking liar. You can't link to any fucking experiments. If you could, I wouldn't be arguing this for fucking 5 years if there were some kind of experiment somewhere. And there aren't any, you liar, except the ones contrived by brozos and dispars. Show me a real fucking physicist. You're saying these labs exist. You're saying these universities exist. Show me a university experiment that demonstrates this lie, you fucker. God, you're so dishonest. I mean, can't any of you fuckers show a tiny bit of integrity and say, yes, well, we probably should have some fucking evidence if we're going to claim this crap? Videos don't matter. Oh, fuck you. So, okay, we're done talking, right? What's the fucking point? Are you going to say something relevant? Videos don't matter. Oh, what a pile of fucking nonsense. I showed the Mythbusters video. So show me something that counters it. I showed you the video of the carts right here in the fucking video. It's right up there, right now, moving back and forth across there, showing a one mass easily going 4 times the velocity, not showing anything called your inertia. It doesn't have any inertia problem. Have you explained that? That's going to be tomorrow's post, by the way. It's just going to point out how you people are motherfucking lying sacks of shit, because clearly you can't argue in one case light things are hard to push faster, and then in the next case say, no, it's perfectly reasonable for the light thing to collect a ton of energy easily. You people are just such liars. So anyway, go to a university with a quality air track and measure the masses yourself. Well, in the first place, it's not possible because of my circumstances. But regardless, it's not the obligation. All right, it's not my obligation to go to a university and convince them to allow me to play with their toys. Like they're going to let me do that anyway, you fucking liar. They're going to let me videotape proof of their physics being nonsense. Oh, yeah, sure they are. I mean, you're just so fucking dishonest. It's just amazing when you did this dishonesty. Alright, so enough of them. It's not about obligations. It's being... okay, so there's no point. We're not going to talk. There's no point. You're just such a fucking liar. I mean, get what you fucking deserve. I mean, this comment, let me just read it. It's not about obligations. It's about being interested and honest. Fuck you. There's nothing honest about your responses at all. You have zero evidence for this nonsense. You can't produce any fucking evidence, and you claim it exists. I mean, you couldn't be more fucking dishonest in this conversation than to claim you have all of this evidence. It's right there. It's right available when you can't show any of it. You can't link to a fucking video. And then you claim videos don't matter. I mean, how are you being dishonest? How are you being honest in this conversation, you fucking shit? Nowhere close. I'll give you a timeout. You're wasting my time. What a waste. See, that's how useless a debate would be with any of these morons. Because they just go lie after lie after lie after lie. And that's all they do. And so there's just no point. They obviously can't produce any physical show me evidence. They can't do it. So they're claiming a truth. They have no fucking evidence, and they won't admit that's the definition of religion. When you can't produce evidence, it's a fucking religion. changed. Okay, obviously the rest of me isn't going to speed up, just the part I moved. That there's any quadratic increase. You won't prove that, liar. Ugh. It's just momentum. It's just a lever. All right, you asked for us to consider these experiments as if they were novel. So amazing. I'm asking you to show me evidence. Every fucking one of these arguments is pleading for evidence, you fucking moron. All right, every undergraduate physics student performs an experiment called rotational inertia and the conservation of angular momentum. And what do they do it with? They do it by dropping weights in gravity. So how is this a fair measurement? I'm just saying, if you really think that you can drop a weight slower and it gains exactly the same amount of gravitational force, so I can put it on a ramp and make it go much slower, I can heat the ramp and I'll still end up with the same amount of momentum. So I'll get the same momentum from just dropping it at the end, and I'll heat the ramp. And somehow you can do that for free, you fuckhead? No, it's because you slowed it down. The whole point is it's in more gravity. You stupid shit. This gravity is a time-dependent force, so it proves my point, shit for brain. So let's see you use some other energy-producing device besides this silly idea of dropping shit in gravity. Use an electric motor. Use something else that you can measure exactly how much energy you had to put in. All right, in the first semester, we have precise tracks, photo gates, and variable masses specifically to prove that moving mass twice as far out quadruples. Okay, I'm just saying, prove it with some mechanism that's not bullshit, not your silly assumption that you can drop something in gravity and put tension on a string and slow it down, and it still produces exactly the same energy as if you let it free fall and hit the ground. Bullshit it does. I mean, just the obvious fact that it's never going to hit the ground with the same force because, it's going so much slower. It's going to barely dent the ground. So obviously a big hunk of the energy is not in the object anymore. It's someplace else, Morion. All right, we have done the experiment. We have recorded it. So just link to it, okay? And I'll prove it's nonsense. So link to your fucking experiment, you lying sack of shit. All right, we have built our entire civilization. So more of this crap. You built anything. The fuck you did. You're a moron. You can't build anything. Every time you drive a car, the flywheel in your engine, the flywheel in your engine is, really just for starting your car. Smooths out the power stroke because it has a high moment of inertia. Well, that's really not its purpose, but believe whatever you wish to believe. Calculated exactly by the formulas you deny. So more lies about any formula requiring any such bullshit. Your fundamental error, repeated ad nauseum, is the assumption that nature must be linear. Well, whatever. I'm saying it's clear that your theory doesn't work. It doesn't move rockets. It doesn't navigate in space. It doesn't work on levers. It doesn't work in hydraulics. It fails dismally on ballistic pendulums. And it fails dismally on levers. So, yes, your theory fails dismally. Every fucking time you test it, it doesn't come true. You're never going to find any of this fucking kinetic energy. You look at the difference of 4 mass, 1/4 think that this balances a distance of 1. Yeah, I look at a perfectly oscillating stick with a 1 mass at 4 distances and a 4 mass at 1 distance, and it perfectly balances. Yes. All right, it balances for the center of mass, but it does not balance for energy or inertia because those properties scale with the square of the distance. You just keep saying it. You don't have any evidence for it. Why am I reading this crap? You just keep making a claim for which you have no fucking experimental evidence. Let's see, you can't simply wash away the exponent. Well, I can do whatever I want until you show a piece of evidence, you fucking liar. All right, the third stick, the one you think acts wildly, is actually a beautiful demonstration of how force and energy are distinct properties. No, it's exactly a very good demonstration of how momentum works and how your theory fails dismally. All right, because if yeah, I'm just saying he's basically saying it's okay to have 4 times the energy on one side of a circle or an oscillator. That somehow I could have an oscillator and it'll work perfectly with 4 times the energy on one side and 1 unit of energy on the other side. That somehow that makes sense to these morons, which is just too ridiculous. All right, anyway, let's go for furthermore. Your citation of Descartes is ironic given that his quantity of motion was corrected by Leibniz. That's hilarious. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Leibniz didn't do any experiments. Descartes did a ton of them. Leibniz did nothing. He has no experimental evidence to support his theory. He says dropping 4 pounds 1 foot is the same as 1 pound dropped 4 feet. They don't have the same momentum, and yet he says they're going to do the same work. Yet he had 0 experimental evidence to prove it. So, fuck you. I mean, this is so fucking lame to say anything was corrected by Leibniz, who didn't produce a single shred of evidence and didn't do a fucking experiment in his fucking life. Anyway, and later standardized. I mean, this is just amazing that he's claiming that Newton was a Leibnizian. Newton's worst enemy was, but Newton was a Leibnizian. And they argued for 150 years. They had the vis visa controversy for 150 years because everybody thought Newton was a Leibnizian. I mean, this is so disgusting. I mean, it's just amazing. So he says Leibniz and later standardizers of Newtonian mechanics precisely because it failed to account for energy. So where was the failure? What example was provided where momentum failed? So there is no citation in the historical record where they show any experiment and say, look how momentum fails. It was exactly the opposite. They proposed vis visa and people gave them a lever and said, well, how do you explain levers then? Because they're not obeying your stupid vis visa. So it was exactly the opposite what actually happened. There was no indication that momentum ever failed. There was no experiment cited where, holy shit, look how the momentum doesn't work. So you're just a liar. So in collisions and nonlinear interactions, you are clinging to the definition of motion that was obsolete before the United States was a country. So again, and there's no evidence that it was ever obsolete. Okay, and what, the Chardonnay's silly denting clay experiments, and then where's your next experiment, you fucking liar? You don't have any. That's why you can't post any. It's because you don't have any. All right. Anyway, you are arguing against modern physics, duh, by stating errors that were corrected. So obviously there's no error corrected here. Newton was right. There was nothing broken. Momentum worked, and there was no reason to fix it. And the only reason why Leibniz wanted to change it is because he was an egomaniacal kook. Okay, that's it. There's no other reason. He wanted to prove he could make his physics be something meaningful, and that's all it was. It was just just nonsense. So anyway, physics is not a litany of underdone experiments, except you can't show a single one. You type all of this crap and you can't link to a fucking single experiment. All right, is a litany of rigorous, repeated, and cross-verified experiments. You should just get blocked for that statement, right? I mean, I shouldn't even have to tolerate this. Yes, I shouldn't have to. But anyway, okay, so look, jackass. Yeah, I've seen all of these experiments, okay? So clearly it's not even filmed in a scientific way. So you're linking to a video where they're filming it at a 45-degree angle, so clearly you can't do anything with this frame rate-wise or any other way to test it. So you just have to trust this moron, right? And they do an experiment where the masses aren't exactly twice as much or 3 times as much, right? Which would be the sensible thing to do. And there's no experiment where they use 5 times as heavy or 10 times as heavy or any of that stuff, of course. And the very idea that you could set up this experiment, as I've pointed out 4 many times, but, you know, why don't they just set it up different? You know, if they just, well, I'll draw it. You know, what the hell? I'm here. Just gotta get rid of this. All right. So, I mean, you could do this experiment where you actually have the end point here, right, with your little rubber band. So you put your almost a little less than a 3 mass here, and then you hit it with your 1 mass here, okay? And you can actually make it so the whole experiment ends up moving in the same direction. So, you know, so you can push the 1 mass in with 100. you can get 150 into this, and then this will bounce off going a little bit faster than this because it's a little lighter, right? So it's a little minus 3. It's a little less than 3 times. And the two of them will catch up to each other and gracefully combine into one object, all right, with 250 momentums, right, by your theory. And there's 200 over here somehow. So somehow the whole device is moving that way with 200, well, with 150, sorry. No, it's twice, so it's 300. So there's 300 momentums going this way, and the whole device is moving that way at 300. And you have 250 going this way. And that makes sense to you. Oh, sorry, this is 50. Okay, this reflection is 50. So it's 200 going this way and 300 going that way. And that all makes sense to you. But it would all be going the same way. You do understand, right? So you're saying that somehow it's not free. You put 100 in, you get 300 going in the opposite. Oh, 200, sorry. I keep exaggerating. 200. So you've doubled your momentum going the opposite direction. And they're all both going the same direction. So you have, you know, how do you make sense out of that argument? And I just let it bounce off the other side, and it'll be going 200 in the same direction. It'll go in the opposite direction. So again, what's the difference, right? The direction obviously doesn't matter. I can change the direction at will. And the fact is you're claiming that every time the direction changes, a gigantic amount of momentum gets pushed into the universe. And I'm saying it's absolute nonsense. I don't know how you people can actually think that's rational or reasonable. I just don't know how you can do it. But anyway, this obviously the link is crap. You think this is a great video? This is a demonstration video to prove their theory. This isn't a video that's testing it actually to pull out the truth. All right? It's contrived to produce the result they want. And that's the flaw in all of these fucking experiments. And again, this is like you doing... It's like you doing the, I'll try to prove that it takes 4 times the energy to go twice as fast, when the real hard one to do is 3 times the energy, 9 times the energy to go 3 times as fast. Show us that. Or the 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. Those are obviously the ones that really are going to prove your point, and those are obviously the experiments you're never going to show. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Okay. So look, there's no point. I mean, you're telling me you haven't trusted frame counts before? In what videos? By whom? So again, you just keep saying that somehow all of these things, the Professor Lewin video, how can I trust the frame counts? How can I trust anything when you can't trust the masses? What's the point? I mean, you won't concede that that video looks bad? It's got a ball of clay clomped onto the fucking goddamn cart. The mass that's supposed to be twice as much doesn't have any clay, let alone twice the clay. And you're saying that makes sense to you. I mean, you're just so full of shit. Anyway, momentum works wonderfully. That's the truth. You just need to consider the directions the way Newton... No, I'm sorry, I don't have to. It's idiotic to make free momentum. It's idiotic. It's an idiotic concept. And I already showed, again, I showed this experiment. Will any of you actually deal with any of the arguments I've made? I mean, it's pretty clear. You're saying if you're going to make this claim, then you should do this experiment and prove your case. Because this would be the experiment that really proves it. Is your silly idea that I can bang into something. So we'll just take a heavy mass, okay, and we'll just have a few of them going down a little slight slope. And you can just hit them with a pendulum, okay? Put 100 in, get 200 out, okay? And do it over and over and over again with some efficiency for the first 10 or 20 hits. You're going to get 90%, 99% back, and you're going to just keep doing this. 200, 190, 170, and we'll just add it up till we finally get a total of, say, 2,000 or 3,000, okay? So you took 100 in, and you made 3,000 out. That's the consequence of your bullshit, is that somehow you can make, that kind of extreme amount of free momentum, and that's not a problem in your physical world. I mean, it's absolute crap. It'll never happen. No one will ever do this experiment because it doesn't fucking happen. Ugh, disgusting. This is exactly... So, I mean, she shows a crap video and then says, I have to believe everything produced in some dopey lab... filmed so unclinically. Why would somebody film the fucking experiment from a 45-degree angle? What's the point? Why? Why would you do that? Is there some reason a scientist would do that? No, there's no reason a scientist would do that. All right. Why do you... Of course, why do I think it was contrived? Because they have to contrive it. Because they're teaching what's in the fucking book. Obviously, they can't do the experiment and say, look, it didn't work. Do you really think the Eddington experiment was never tried from space? I mean, do you really believe that? That in the last 60 years, no NASA scientist ever thought to use satellite time to try the Eddington experiment? You really think so? 5-minute experiment, no eclipse needed. They never even tried it? No one in all that time they sat inside the space stations, all of those hours and days and months they sat there. Not one of them ever took a telescope to look out the window? Never happened, right? Yeah, they never thought to take a little time exposure. Well, of course it was. So I'm not going to argue with you. So fuck this. You think it's a credible experiment. That's your business. I'm saying it's nowhere near the proof needed. So again, you can make the claim. I'm saying the claim is bullshit. Eventually it will be proven because somebody will do these experiments clinically eventually. Okay, and then we'll know the truth. Well, I have the video right up, you fucking liar. I mean, it's obviously not filmed straight on. What degrees are you saying it was? 32 degrees? What's your argument? You fucking liar. God damn. You people you just can't put words together. You can't say anything reasonable or honest. It's fucking pointing down. So first the camera's way higher for some reason. And yeah, the angle is, if I was to do an equal and opposite reaction from the back wall, let's say if I was to throw a ball and get my equal and opposite reaction, it's pretty close to 45 degrees. So you're just a fucking liar. Go ahead, prove it's something other than 45 degrees. It's damn close. 42 degrees? 39 degrees maybe, but yes, it's close. So go ahead, prove that, you fucking liar. You just made a lie, so let's back it up, liar. Okay, so fuck you. I mean, this is a pointless conversation, okay? I watched the video. It's on my screen right now. Fuck you. You're a liar, okay? It's everywhere close to being 45 degrees one way and like 30 degrees too high. So it's in every way filmed shittily. It's just an absolute fact. It's shit. Ugh, these people are just so fucking dishonest. Ugh. Just disgusting. All right. So, back to bullshit, this miles of text for you to type this fucking outrageous lie. Repeated and cross-verified. Where the fuck are they? God, what a liar. That you have simply Where have I chosen to ignore your fucking credible experiment? Where are they, you fucking lying shit? God damn it, I can't stand these liars. I'm just so sick of liars. You look at the spinning stick and see magic and conspiracy. Oh, fuck you, I do. I see religion. I see a bunch of silly fuckers who say, I just want to believe. I don't even want to bother thinking about whether there's evidence. I don't even know what... Look, you're people who... You fucking morons stick bananas up your ass. Of course I can't understand why you do the things you do or what you think. You fucking stick bananas up your ass. I look at it and I see the integral of r squared, whatever that... How does that have anything to do with this shit? I don't even understand what you're talking about. I mean, it's not the law of the lever, that's for sure. The fact that you think a balanced stick will wobble because of uneven energy proves you not to understand what energy... Obviously, I don't understand what energy is by your definition of v squared. I obviously think that's a silly fable. All right. What force is? Well, I already know what force is according to Newton, and that was twice the force, twice the motion, 3 times the force, 3 times the motion, which means force was momentum. All right. Or how objects move. Fuck you. Go buy a fidget spinner. Fuck you. Glue some wash. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Don't post a link to a single credible experiment defining your proving your silly theory. You think it takes 9 times the fuel to go 3 times as fast. It's as dumbass as it could possibly be. If I went out in the street and I asked people, does that make any fucking sense to you? They're all going to say no. And you're pretending it's perfectly logical. Well, it's not. It's perfectly illogical. It's unreasonable. It's silly. It's preposterous. It's absolute fucking goddamn nonsense. And you should be able to goddamn prove it if you're going to claim it. You fuck. God, what garbage these people are. Ugh. It's just disgusting. Yuck. Yeah, so if you didn't get it, fuck you. Get what you deserve, you lying sack of shit. Alright, should be back. So, in the biggest disbar cheat ever, okay, category, they're attempting to prove what I've been asking for, which is 9 times the force to go 3 times as fast. So, he has managed to prove it, okay, with a completely contrived fake experiment. So as you can notice, all right, this is with the 9 rubber bands. The block gets higher and higher off the ground, okay, the more rubber bands you add. So it starts off flat, and now it's got to be at least like a centimeter off the ground at one end. So obviously the rubber bands at this other end aren't pulled as tight because, you know, the block isn't flat. So they're obviously not as compressed as they should be. And then on top of that, he has this stupid triangle going through the timing gate, which means that the more it tilts, the longer the timing gate gets. And obviously that means the slower the time will be going through the timing gate because more card is going through the gate. So who puts a triangular object as a flag for a timing gate, right? I haven't seen that in the history of fucking experiments. Who would do that? I mean, it's so frickin' stupid. And then on top of it, to have this fact that you're tilting the block at the same time, which is going to make anything higher in tilt is going to obviously be more card going through, and obviously also the rubber bands are going to be less compressed because you haven't made it flat. So it's so obviously crap, and then his results are actually crap. Okay, can you see the results? Where you can see this obvious gigantic defect where something obviously did go wrong because, you're at 5 rubber bands, you're at 255. And when you add 4 more rubber bands, you only get to 298. So somehow 4 rubber bands produced 5 rubber bands, well, 4 you could even say, produced 2.15, and then somehow the next 5 rubber bands only produced, 1.85. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, clearly, the 0.45. No, it's 0.45. So he's saying 4 rubber bands here only produce 0.45. It's ridiculous when 4 here was 2.15. So how come the 4 rubber bands you added only produced 0.45 and the first 4 produced 2.15? Well, I guess it's because you're tilting the block, retard. God damn. So this is what so in 350 years, they have no evidence from a real scientist, and all they can produce is this lie crap from this guy contriving experiments. That's what they have. So that's the best they can do. So I'm just showing the world right here. Okay, this is the argument. The science won't produce any credible evidence, and they produce this overtly incredible evidence. I mean, evidence that's just so easily to dissect as garbage. This is garbage. It's a lie. It's deception. It's nonsense as an experiment. And they bothered to do, the big joke here is he's doing a quick release. What's the point in this circumstance? What's the point of doing a quick release when you've done this to the experiment? When you've cheated so overtly? What the hell is this stupid weird thing he glued to the block? I mean, it's just incredibly stupid. Oh, all right. But I mean, you can see it. It's way off the ground here.
And then if we go back to, one rubber band, it's flat on the ground, right? So, I mean, it's just, see, flat on the ground. That's what it's supposed to be. It's flat on the ground. It's not flat on the ground. Obviously, the tension of the rubber band is too hard for him to even pull the block flat on the ground now. The whole thing is just idiotic. It's idiotic that he even thinks pulling it back and then having it hit a stop when the stop is even now further away because of the angle he's used. Ugh, I mean, it's just so damn stupid. Alright, so back to the text. Alright, so I guess we'll read this shit first. But anyway, so this is illusionist bed. Alright, so look, we're going to just delete your comments. That's what I'm going to suggest until you produce actual evidence. Okay, because you keep claiming you've produced something. You haven't produced shit. This is crap. Okay, 1 day old, clearly not in a peer-reviewed paper, is it? No, it's not anything. This is garbage, so you have to do better than this if you're going to claim you've produced evidence of anything. All right, so here he says, and here is the evidence. It once again proves you wrong. It does, in fact, require 9 rubber bands to go 3 times as fast. So that's their assertion. In 350 years, this is the most credible piece of evidence they have of this event. I mean, it's just such bullshit. All right, and it hasn't, it's done with a quick release. He's even pointing that out, that this time he did it with a quick release. Well, and he doesn't have a pendulum going down. So every one of these experiments has been a cheat, an overt cheat, and they just keep posting links to them. And ignoring the question, really. So let me just read the thing. You actually believe this is good proven science. So they actually believe, I just list all this. 25 times to go 5 times. 64 times to go 8 times. 100 times the force to go 10 times as fast. And so they actually believe this is good proven science. This is their fucking proof, this piece of garbage experiment. Can you link to any experimental evidence showing something like 9 times the force to go 3 times as fast? Well, this isn't experimental evidence because clearly it was 5 rubber bands to go 2.55, which was so incredibly close to 3. All right. If not, can you explain why evidence shouldn't be expected? So they didn't explain why I should expect better evidence. Why hasn't any scientist done this experiment, right? This bar is clearly not a professional scientist, certainly not a professional experimentalist. This is a 350-year-old claim resisting experimental confirmation. How can you, with confidence, how can confidence be reasonably defended? I mean, how do you defend yourselves proclaiming this a fact? It's disgusting. And here you just do it again. You just prove my point, frankly. So that's the good news. People say, oh, well, you think it's a conspiracy? You think everybody's a cheat? Well, apparently everybody's a cheat. Yes, they're confirming their willingness to cheat. All right. So then he says, for Christ's sake, Newton said. So this is just keep lying. It's right under the second law. The quote is perfectly valid. So the quote was right in here. The first, right here. Twice the force, twice the motion. 3 times the force, 3 times the motion. It's right the first sentence under the second law. So just keep lying. All right, the alteration of motion or the change in motion. So you keep saying this. Yes, and he said it's ever proportional. So just finish that sentence. The alteration of motion is ever proportional, okay, to the change in the velocity. So just keep lying some more. Not just motion, whatever that even means. But he said it right under. Exactly how many times do we have to repeat this to you? No, exactly how many times do you have to keep lying that Newton didn't say, okay, the exact words? Twice the force, twice the motion, 3 times the force, 3 times the motion. Those are his exact words, liar. So, yeah, we ought to just stop you from talking because you just keep lying. Every one of your posts is just a litany of fucking lies. All right, so force equals change in mass times change in velocity. Well, obviously we know the mass didn't change, so that's just ridiculous. So we know the force is the change in the velocity. That's exactly what Newton's saying. And so it's essentially a change in your momentum. But since the mass remains unchanged for most objects, we only change the velocity. F equals mass times change in velocity. That's exactly what I'm saying, jackass. What the hell different than that am I saying, jackass? Jesus Christ, what the hell does twice the force, twice the motion actually mean except that, jackass? God damn it. Alright. Now, to calculate the rate of change in velocity, this doesn't need, it's a net change in velocity. We're just talking about a net impact. Everything's a net impact. You want to play some game that somehow it matters how the impact happened, how the net change happened. Who cares how the net change happened? It only matters what's the net change. So again, just keep changing the subject. You need an equation. Gary says this is bullshit math. LOL. I'm saying, what's the point of it? I don't need it. We know what the velocity is before. We know what the velocity is after. Oh, game over. And we know that Newton's saying it's ever proportional to the force applied. So aren't we finished, fuckhead? What else do we need to figure out, fuckhead? What about velocity? It's time to rate. It's the rate of change of position, which is calculated. Who cares? Again, you keep saying that this somehow changes the net impact. It can't change the fact that it went twice the velocity, you jackass. All right, change in velocity, dt. Literally, the definition of acceleration, so F equals change in velocity, is literally the same as F equals mass times acceleration. Well, and again, if acceleration just meant the change in your velocity, we wouldn't have a problem. But you think acceleration means v squared. So that's where the problem is, retard. Okay, the forces were actually proportional to the motion instead of the change in motion then, so you keep saying this crap. Something about a zero velocity. If velocity doesn't equal zero, then force doesn't equal zero. I don't know what that could possibly mean to anybody, but obviously it's a straw man because I'm not arguing for that, jackass. So moving an object will always require force. Yes, it always does require force. I don't even know why somebody would think it doesn't always require force. But Newton's first law says you can. Oh, Newton's first law somewhere says you can move without a force acting. Oh, I think it says exactly the opposite. All right, an object in motion stays in motion unless acted by a force. Yeah, that's in space, but obviously we know in none of these experiments that doesn't apply because there's a ton of forces applying a counter force. If Gary were right, a hockey puck, a frictionless ice would instantly stop when you stop pushing. So again, it's just a lie. It has nothing to do with the physics I'm arguing. Obviously, it goes very far, and the only thing taking its fucking velocity is the friction with the ice and the air resistance. If you got rid of those two things, it would keep going around the Earth for a very, very long time. So I'll just keep lying, you piece of shit. All right, so yeah, it's just time. There's no point communicating with liars, perpetual liars. All right, that contradicts experiments. Seriously, what experiments? So show us where what I proposed did any of that straw man lie. So it's just a straw man lie. There's nothing about fucking believing in momentum that means objects stop moving or start moving magically. So just lie, you fucking piece of shit. All right, seriously, if an object, for example, moves with a constant velocity in space, yeah, it's only going to go twice the distance in twice the time. Then according to Gary's force, 1 kilogram force, 5 meters per second, so that has a force of, it doesn't, where am I saying it's constantly being accelerated? Where did I say any such thing, you liar? I mean, I have never said you throw a wrench and it keeps going faster and faster and faster. That's not the fucking theory, you fucking piece of shit. Alright, but obviously once an object is launched in space, it will move on its own forever without a force. It already has the force, obviously. Oh, god damn. You gave it force. That's why it has force, just like Newton said. You converted a force into its motion. Okay, but according to Gary, it continuously needs force to keep moving, so that's a lie. I mean, I just can't even read this stuff. This is such an overt lie. I've never said that ever, you fucking liar. Alright, in reality, once it is launched, it doesn't... Okay.
Alright, so we got another jackass saying the same shit. So here's another elastic collision with unequal masses. There's no masses, so we don't know what the mass ratios is. It's just cart labeled 1, cart labeled 2. Now, clearly I could argue that obviously the 2 mass cart doesn't have 4 attachments on it, so we know the attachment weight can't be even. But we have no idea. And then there's no... You know, it's showing it in slow motion, but it's not showing us any calculations or any numbers at all. So why don't you do the numbers? Did you do any of the timing and the effect and to figure out whether it meets the proper conclusion? Or are you saying that's my job again? So no one's commented on it. No one said anything. So you're linking to this ambiguous video that doesn't say a goddamn thing. You don't need to know the masses. Yeah, you do, but fuck you.
No, you have to know more than they're just unequal. You have to be proving that the rebound speed is the same as the as percentages, right? So you got to have a reflective speed, and then you have to have the motion into the first object that's going to be twice the momentum, or 133% of the momentum. Well, where you've why would I trust you? Yes, that's right. There's no reason to trust you, but go ahead. What do you say the calculation comes out to? I'm saying automatically we know the two carts aren't one mass and two mass, because we know there's not 4 attachments on the cart that's supposed to weigh twice as much. So it can't possibly be that it weighs twice as much, because we know the carts aren't cut at some preposterously uneven amount. The twice as big cart isn't 1.7 bigger. So what bullshit. I'm just saying, if that's your experiment, fuck you, okay? I'm just saying it doesn't convince me that you can make free momentum. So you still have to do better than this, in the sense that do it a second time and prove that you made even more free momentum. So bang the 2 mass cart into a 4 mass cart and show us how you can make even more free momentum. Anytime you just keep banging into heavier things and somehow you can keep making free momentum. That's your theory. Well, I want to see that. Because I'm saying, of course, that doesn't happen. I can't do that in space. I can't put something in space, right, where I have no friction. And I can put unlimited masses next to each other. So I can have a 1 mass, and then a 3 mass, and then a 9 mass, and then a 25 mass, and then a 36 mass, and I can just keep going bigger and bigger and bigger, and I can create an infinite amount of momentum. I just put a tiny tap in, and it will infinitely progress. So maybe I'll do that as an argument, because in space this experiment becomes ludicrous. I'm going to make an infinite amount of momentum, according to you, by just doing this. Yeah, fuck you, that happens. So what you're defending is crap, and the video itself is, like, frankly, is, it's nice that it's a nice piece of slow motion, but without any of these details, it doesn't mean shit. So the velocities after the collision are approximately 1/3 of the small mass and 2/3 for the big mass. So that's what you're saying. And again, you're saying that suggests, yes, you're telling me the conclusion is the definition of the masses, and I'm saying, well, the conclusion is that's just you being circular. So I'm just saying, you really theoretically think it is possible then? I could go to space. I'll just draw it, all right? Yeah, why not? I'm here. So while you're here, I'll draw this, and then you explain to me that's what you believe. All right? Is that fair enough? I'm gonna draw now, right? So just shut up for a minute. This is what you're saying is true. I'm just going to draw what you're saying is true, and you're going to tell me, yes, that's the way the universe works. Because that'll be the, obviously you people have to stick with what you're arguing, right? I've already pointed out that you can't argue two things. You can't say it's hard to move light masses and then show it's easy to move light masses. You can't have all these contradictions in your theory. That's called bullshit. All right, so you're saying I could put it in space. I could do the same experiment in space, and I could have a 1 mass, and I could have a 3 mass. So it's 150. Well, you'll agree I could make this a 10 mass. Or 20 mass, right? I could make it a 20. But let's not multiply by that high number. Okay, so just stick with the 150. Alright, so I could have a 3 mass, and then I would do a 9 mass. Okay, and then I would do a, let's see, 9. Yeah, which one do I have to go 3, 30? Well, whatever. So we're just going to keep doing this. We'll just keep proportionally getting bigger and bigger. 3 times bigger. Alright, you're saying that if I did this experiment in space, this would actually work. That I could put 100 in here, and I get 150, alright, and then I get 300, and then I get 600, alright, because it just keeps, well, it doesn't double, no, it's 1.5, sorry. So this would be 250. Alright, 250, this would be like, 250, half of 250 is 125 plus Half of that is 75, which is well, whatever, 370, whatever. All right, and it would just keep getting bigger and bigger. So you're saying that's possible in space. So if I did the experiment in space, finally hitting, say, an object that weighed a ton, all right, that I could end up having thousands of times more momentum. So I just put a tiny bit of momentum into space, I hit it with a P, and I can make enough momentum to make 1,000 P's go the same speed. You know, because if I hit this giant thing into a lever, you will concede, if I hit it into a lever, I could make a little tiny object go incredibly fast. Theoretically. But I certainly could make 10 of them, 10 little objects go very fast. Faster than this initial momentum. So what's your answer? You think that's true. You think that'll happen in space. If I did that experiment in space, that'll happen. I'll just keep making more and more momentum. Okay, that's fine. Now we've got the answer. That's all I need, okay? So yes, let me just copy that answer. All right, just so we have it for posterity. All right, I'm saying that is so imbecilically silly. It's so inconsistent with any notion of conservation of motion in the universe, or conservation of energy in the universe, or conservation of momentum in the universe. It breaks all kinds of concepts of anything called conservation. It's not conservation. It's an insane amount of free heat. This will make a ton of heat, okay? Momentum can be converted into heat. You do understand that, do you? Or don't you? You don't think momentum can be converted into heat? And that if I have only 100 here and I have 100,000 here, that I can't make 100,000 units of heat with this big object moving than I could make with this tiny object moving? Are you going to concede that this giant object, if I put it in a Joule tank, okay, with its 300,000 momentums, that it isn't going to make more heat? So yeah, we've got you. Okay, you're an idiot. Thank you. You proved you're an idiot. I appreciate it. You're a lunatic. You're insane. So he says, assuming the numbers are correct, but you might as well move the final object directly and save a lot of energy. How can I move it with more momentum? So again, you're just lying. You're pretending there's not more momentum. There's more momentum. I can't make more momentum. So how can I use 100 momentums when I have to give the object 100,000 momentums? I can't use 100 momentums to give it 100,000. The only way I can get the 100,000 is to do your silly procedure of keep hitting small things into big things. Well, anyway, thank you. At least for you bringing it up made me think of the space example. I should have used this space example from the very beginning, because this completely blows up your theory entirely. It makes it ludicrous and silly. If I showed this to a bunch of grammar school students, then they would say, well, you can't do that. Yeah, you can't make free momentum that way. That can't happen. Well, it doesn't matter. Momentum does have to be conserved in the universe. So I'm saying most physicists concede that. Do I literally have to play the Professor Lewin clip every day where he says, nature can deal with kinetic energy one way or the other, but nature can't finagle momentum. Yeah, so you people are just, you're so dishonest. But anyway, thank you for the honest answer. At least he said this is what will happen. He's conceded this impossibly silly thing will happen based on his preposterously silly physics. So that's what they're proposing. I don't know what you're saying. It's fine. I'm just saying that the statement Professor Lewin's saying is that in all the cases he shows, you have to conserve momentum. Now, obviously, he doesn't show this case. Obviously, he doesn't show any cases, frankly. He draws the silly idea that the 200 momentums go into the non-moving object. And he, I should just have to make that argument, right? Why don't I just stop right there and make the insanely silly argument? So let's just understand what they're saying. They're saying the more energy I get back, the more energy I put into the object. Instead of the real world truth, which is if I hit a tennis ball into a board that moves, I'm not going to get the same energy back. I'm going to get a ton less. So if I want to get energy back from a tennis ball and have a brick wall, Okay, I throw the tennis ball in, and let's say it's a super ball, so it's much more efficient than a tennis ball. And you get 90% back, and you know the only thing you didn't get back is because the ball's still doing this when it leaves. So we know the ball has energy in it. You know, it goes in not wobbling, it comes back oscillating. So that's the lost energy. But you get 90% back. What he's saying is if I did a shitty wall, okay, a wooden wall, okay, and threw the ball, and the wall moves, okay, with say 30% of the energy, I don't care, 30% of the momentum, that somehow I'll get even more back. The more it moves, the more I get back. That's their argument. If I throw a tennis ball at a piece of cardboard, because the cardboard moves a lot, I'm going to get all of my tennis ball back. When we know, no, if the tennis ball makes the object move, I'm not getting shit back. The more the wall moves, the less I get back. And they're saying that isn't true. So let's just, any students watching this is what you're saying. This is what they're teaching you, is something this silly. They're saying that if this doesn't move, I get nothing. If this does move, I get 100% back. So the more this moves, the more I get back. That's their argument. That's how stupid their physics is. That's the crap they're selling. They're pushing it into the minds of little kids. They're molesting the minds of little kids by shoving this nonsense into their fucking head, this undemonstrated crap. Well, you're saying the cardboard takes up some of the energy. Well, how does it avoid taking up all of it? Because frankly, you're arguing that the brick wall collected 200. So obviously, if the cardboard moves, it must not have collected 200 momentums, because it won't be moving with 200 momentums, will it, moron? You people are just so fucking stupid. Well, anyway, look, the space one proves the case. I mean, so he's already defined himself as a religious kook. Okay, he believes in a fucking Jesus walking on water fairy tale. All right, that somehow it's possible to make free momentum in this universe. In this universe, you can make lots and lots of free momentum, and free momentum, in my opinion, is free heat. So that's just saying that there's no thermodynamic conservation. So he's saying that any idea that there's thermodynamic conservation in the universe is a big, fat fucking lie. Well, anyway, these people are just so fucking ridiculous. So, back to the story so far. I shouldn't even have to read this. That's such a gross lie. All right, here's why the velocity is constant. We already know this, so fuck that. Yeah, so fuck. You're blocked. This is just a waste of time. These are just such goddamn fucking lies. I was going to read his other comment on the other page, but you know, it's that. Well, we'll do it as a farewell address. But yeah, you're just too much of a fucking liar. All right, so this was on the fan that you can't deny experiment. Right, so it's just overtly right in your face. The same force applied. The lighter object doesn't have any problem moving. So maybe I'll just use this to illustrate their big lie. So in the previous argument, he just argued that the light things on the stick. So I was using the stick example, and you had the two light things far out on the stick, and you have two heavy things on the inside, and their momentums will be the same. But their kinetic energy would be 4 times different. He's saying it does actually take 4 times the energy to move the lighter objects. 4 times the energy to give them the same momentum as the heavy objects. So the light things are somehow preposterously hard to push. And then look at this experiment. Is the light thing showing any resistance to accepting the force? Is it harder to push? The same force is being applied to both objects. It seems the thing that is 1/4 of the weight isn't having any problem at all in accepting all of the force. It's moving exactly as you would expect, 4 times as fast. So is he going to resolve any of that? So we'll give him the chance. Go ahead and make a sentence explaining how your lies fit that evidence. You fucking piece of shit. And that's the fact here, is none of these assholes respond to any of these fucking goddamn comments. They just keep making their rhetorical nonsense statements, and they never address a single one of these proofs. And the very fact that in one case they're arguing it's hard to push light things, and in the next case they're arguing somehow light things move really easily. What a pile of shit. It proves that all they have is a litany of lying. Ugh. All right, maybe I'll take a break. That was just disgusting. All right, I'm back. A little calmer now. Yeah, wait. Again, who uses a triangular object as a timing gate flag? I mean, who would do that? Anyway, here we go again. I honestly don't think it's possible to pack this with much dimensional literacy into a single headline, but you have outdone yourself. So more of this pointless rhetoric from the guy who sticks bananas up his ass. Force is momentum and momentum is energy. Yes, that's about is all you need to say. Read that out loud. Yes, it makes perfectly good sense. Do you realize that you have just stated that a rate of change is equal to the quantity changing? To the quantity changing. Yes, I'm saying that the changing rate doesn't make any difference, and we know that from a Newton's cradle. The rate of change is, frankly, almost as fast as it gets. The speed of sound through a tiny distance in metal, it's so fast. Okay. And that's a vector quantity is equal to a scalar quantity. Well, I don't believe in scalar quantity, so again, you keep telling me that somehow to you it is ludicrous for somebody to say, what's the point of comparing a vector to a hobgoblin? I have no interest in comparing vectors to hobgoblins. I mean, it's just, why would I think that's a possibility? That somehow I can, I can convert vectors into hobgoblins. I can't. You have effectively typed height is speed and speed is volume. Well, I haven't, but so just lie some more. I mean, what a perfect non sequitur. That's not what I said at all. What I said was exactly what Newton said. It is meaningless word soup. Well, says you. I'm saying the word scalar is meaningless word soup. It doesn't have any meaning. It was never a word. It was never a concept. It's just like hobgoblin. It was some word made up by some silly person to describe some silly event that isn't real. Okay, it's not physics. I would agree your hobgoblin word is not physics. Scalar is not physics. A magnitude with no direction is not a physical thing. It's not possible to make such a thing. It doesn't exist in this fucking universe. There is no such thing as anything that's a thing in this universe that's doing that. That's my simple argument, and you have zero evidence that there is anything scalaring. You can't show me anything scalaring. Okay, it is not philosophy. Well, whatever. Fuck your category error nonsense. So go fuck yourself. Okay, go eat your own ass banana. You piece of garbage. All right, you want to talk about your fan can't experiment. What does that even mean? It's an experiment somebody else did, but I'm just saying it's a perfectly valid experiment showing an event. Now, you can say the fans aren't equal. You could say something, but you can't deny what appears to be the results of the experiment is that he puts the same fan on two objects. They're getting the same foot-pounds of pressure applied to them, and one of them is collecting an outrageous amount of kinetic energy, and the other one's not. From the same fucking force. Let's talk about it. But this time I'm going to bury you under the weight of the very details you claim to understand but consistently ignore. Well, fuck you. There's no detail, okay, except the absolute facts that are right in front of your fucking dumbass face that you're denying. All right, you have presented a scenario, a 1 unit mass and a 4 pushed identical fans. Yes, just get to it. Presumably the same, yes. Well, presumably you can see the time, you fucking asshole. You correctly identify that the lighter mass ends up moving 4 times faster. You correctly identify that their momentums are equal. Yes, that momentum works, and kinetic energy makes no sense at all. Especially in the context where you claim the inertia of the lighter objects mean they can't be pushed equally. They can't go twice as fast. They can't go 3 times as fast. With the same force. Because of inertia. Well, where did this demonstrate in this experiment? This experiment, there's no inertia problem. There's actually an opposite of an inertia problem. Instead of having constipation, it's got diarrhea. and then standing on the principle of understanding you dive headfirst into an abyss of ignorance by just keep wasting more words, declaring that because the momenta are equal, the energies must be equal. Well, I'm saying that the momentum is energy. I'm not asking you to believe that. I'm just saying momentum does work, and you want to play a game and pretend it didn't work. Well, it did work just fine. Momentum predicted the right answer. Your thing isn't predicting anything that makes any sense at all. You're saying that somehow the lighter things figured out how to get 4 times the energy out of the same motion. Somehow they're deriving more energy, even though they're not supposed to be. All right, so I'll just deal with a couple more comments, by this moron. I mean, it's the same argument that, Lewin left it ambiguous. Like, oh, you have to have a sleepless night. Where all this, where's the 200 come from? And, where's it go? After you put it into this thing. And so you're claiming that, yes, you're moving the whole Earth. And so then I'll go back to, the pendulum experiment and say, do you really think so? So the pendulum just keeps hitting the steel anvil, right? And it hits it 200 times, maybe 250, who knows? So Steve Mould did do this experiment, right? Where he did bounce it off a hard surface and it'll bounce 262 times or something. So it's just going to keep going back and forth. And every time it hits, it's putting 2x the momentum into the Earth. So your theory is that, it's 30, 40, 50 times the momentum. 50 times, 50x the momentum. All right, and if I do it in a vacuum and I get rid of the air resistance and all the other little details that might lose some of the energy, I might get even more than that. And you're saying that that's realistic? I should think that that makes any sense at all. I put the energy in, it bounces right back, it comes back again, it goes back, it's oscillating. And somehow the oscillator isn't going to be diminished, even though it's creating a bunch of heat in the Earth. I mean, moving the Earth is like heating it, right? Because you're pushing against another force and all that kind of stuff. So, it's technically a thermodynamic event. You can't deny that, right? So somehow you're making all of this energy going one way, and you keep getting all your energy back. And you're saying that makes sense to you. Thermodynamically, that makes sense to you. That you can make all of this extra motion in the universe by putting a little tiny bit in. I don't do emoticons, so I'm not playing your emoticon game. I don't know what that is, but fuck you. Okay, so I'll just block you or whatever required. I'm not going to try to interpret emoticons. So take that someplace else. All right, assuming the wall is attached to the Earth. Okay, yeah, so we're done with that. All right. Okay, so back to the previous story. And such. Did I turn the mic? Yeah, I had the mic on. Okay, good. Because of inertia. All right, it's not magic. It's inertia. Where's the inertia? It's missing. Where's the moment of motion thingy? Where's all the crap you say are supposed to be getting in the way? Alright, it is geometry. Oh, fuck this. What is this? This isn't about geometry. And the fact that you cannot see the difference between space and time in the root of your entire intellectual... Yeah, I don't see any bullshit. Space is empty. That's what Newton said also, okay? It's just a void that things are placed in. So, yes, space is quite irrelevant, okay? And time is a function. It just happens because things aren't all moving instantaneous speed. Time isn't a thing, okay? It's just a fact that things aren't moving fast enough for it to be instantaneous. We can't live in instantanea because things aren't going instantaneous. You get it? Yeah, things have to move instantaneous for us to live in instantanea. Oh, you fucking idiots. Let's break down your simple experiment. So again, it's not my experiment, but whatever, with the rigor you despise. Okay, yeah, sure. Somehow you're going to prove that the one mass isn't going 4 times. What are you going to prove? You can't undo. You have to say the experiment's broken in some way. You can't sit there and analyze your way out of this because it's obvious evidence against your nonsense. You have two carts. Cart A has a mass. Yes. Oh, yeah, we know all this. You apply a force to both. Yes, the same force. Newton's second law, which you cite when it suits you and ignore. Where have I ever ignored the second law? So again, lie some more. I keep reciting the sentence underneath it. Okay, and the ever proportional word. I keep pointing out ever proportional, ever proportional. What do you think ever proportional means, you fucking retards? Okay, states that acceleration equals. No, it's ever proportional. Yeah, to the force divided by the mass. Well, again, says you, but I'm just saying the mass is irrelevant. We're just saying, what does it do? It changes the momentum, and it changes it by an equal amount. The force is proportional to the change in the momentum. Acceleration of cart A is F divided by 1. So let's call this A for A. Acceleration of cart B. So again, we already know what the outcome of the acceleration is. It's 4 times the velocity. So we don't need to do any of this. How fast did it accelerate? How many seconds did it take it to? No, none of that matters. You can see it in the experiment, so it's right in front of you. But I'm just saying it doesn't matter because we had a net consequence is all we give a shit about. The net product is what we're analyzing, jackass. All right, cart A goes 4 times faster than cart B. So even if it's true, it doesn't matter because to accelerate the heavier cart requires more energy. So of course it takes longer to accelerate the heavier cart because it's going to absorb the energy. That's why it's moving slowly, is because it has more matter to move. Duh. All right, now you turn this experiment for a fixed duration of time. It doesn't matter. So he's claiming that somehow if we change the amount of time, the 4 mass will actually go the same speed as the 1 mass. Is that your silly claim? So let's just wait till somebody does that experiment, where obviously that won't happen. Let's call it T. Velocity equals acceleration multiplied by time. Velocity of A multiplied by T. Velocity of B, blah, blah, blah. 4 times faster than B. Let's see. Momentum is mass times velocity. Momentum of cart A, 1 times 4 units momentum. So he just keeps doing this. Yes, we already know the 2 carts have the same momentum. So he says, congratulations. Yes, that's exactly. I deserve the congratulations because I'm pointing out the experiment demonstrates how momentum is conserved and kinetic energy makes no sense at all. All right, you have rediscovered the impulse momentum theorem. So whatever that possibly could be, but I guess that's the theorem that, well, yeah, momentum does always work, and I don't know why we're doing that other shit with that stupid inertia argument, because it doesn't come out that way. Anyway, force multiplied by time equals change in momentum. Yeah, we already understand how you measure velocity, but it's also just a change in your velocity. The change in your momentum will be ever proportional to the change in your motion. Since the force was the same and the time was the same, the momentum change is the same. This is correct. No physicist denies this. You're denying the possibility. So just keep lying, all right? Your own physics does not predict this outcome. It can't predict it. Because your theory is that the inertia makes the lighter cart really hard to push faster. You can't make it go faster. I need 4 rubber bands to make it go twice as fast. I need 963 rubber bands to make it go 4 times as fast. How the fuck can I make it go 4? I need 16 rubber bands. Well, you don't have 16 fans on the cart, do you, fuckhead? So your theory obviously isn't working, fuckhead. Oh, God, what a liar. Oh, can you see any of this? Not that you need to see any of it, because it just goes, you know, these gigantic paragraphs of shit. Oh, what did I just do? Come on, you can't even hit anything in this stupid... I hate this fucking goddamn... Reddit. All right. All right, so now he finally gets to it. But here is where you fail. You look at the clock. You see that both fans ran for T seconds. And assume they did the same work. I'm not assuming it. I mean, there's no other what it can do. It can only apply an amount of force, a pressure per unit of time. It's applying whatever, 9 pounds, whatever. Some kind of force is being applied, a pressure. Okay, that's the absolute fact. One fan isn't applying more pressure than the other. They're both applying the same pressure. Okay. You define the input into the system solely by the duration of the push. No, I solely by the pressure of the push. But the universe is not zero-dimensional, so whatever that even means, it's not four-dimensional. They can't make a fourth dimension. It's just a physical impossibility, so you go ahead and talk your babble about that lie. All right. It has spectral, again, spatial expansion. So extension, whatever that could possibly mean, which can't mean anything. All right, back. But the universe is not zero-dimensional. It has spatial extension. While those fans were pushing, the carts were moving. So again, this is just absolute bullshit. We know they were moving at exact rates that indicate these proportions of 4-to-1 in the acquisition of velocity. One was gaining 4 times the velocity, and the other one has 1 time the velocity, and that proportion would have been sustained throughout their travels. So just make up lies and state them and prove you're just all lying sacks of shit. How far did they move? Distance equals 1/2 times acceleration times time squared. So again, you're saying so. I'm saying that obviously that time squared thing is an absolute lie, so there's no point in me paying any attention to any of this fake math. Do you see that? No, of course I don't see that. I'm not going to concede that there's any of your formulas are right. Okay, MGH isn't right. It doesn't get right answers in 90% of circumstances of reality where things actually move in gravity. Okay, I'm saying force times distance is nonsense. I'm saying it's force times time. So you can just keep reciting your nonsense. 1/2 mv squared equals energy. I'm saying obviously it doesn't. It has nothing to do with the 1/2 is nonsense. The square is nonsense. It's mv. That's the only thing that decides what energy something has. So there's no point in you calculating your fake formula and saying, look, I calculated my fake formula and came up with a fake answer. Because your fake answer isn't even consistent with the actual fact, okay? Which is you haven't accounted for the fact that you can sit there and say it has 4 times the energy, but you're not going to show us it has 4 times the energy, and you're not going to explain how it collected 4 times the energy. So explain again. The light masses on the stick are hard to push. I need 4 times the energy to make them move. Yet the light mass in this case moves easily 4 times as fast. How can you meld those two contradictory observations? They're completely in contradiction to each other. How do you sit there and contrive any kind of nonsense to justify your silly claim that in one case the light things are easy to push and in the other case they're preposterously difficult to push? You lying sack of shit. Alright, well, we'll do a real quickie on this asshole. So just more lies about what experiments exist. So he says, LOL, you can't give an actual example where MGH doesn't work. Yes, I can, because you don't know how to apply it. No, you don't know how it's applied, and it's an absolute fact. I'm just saying that you really think that if I put 2 objects 5 miles above the Earth, and I push one of them, and I don't push the other one, so I push this one at 100 miles an hour, and it goes through the gravity, that is, it hits the Earth in 1 second because it's going 100 miles an hour, okay, and the other one takes 15 seconds, okay, to get to the Earth, right? So can you understand the dilemma you're in now, okay, the problem you're having? Because you can't say that this one is going to have 150, like it's going to somehow get this distance worth, okay? The distance will create 150 as a velocity, but this distance won't, because obviously it's only 1 unit, 1 second, so it's not going to get the 150. So you're saying that you have evidence somewhere that this will actually be going 250. I propose it's only going to be hitting the ground at 110, and I'm certain NASA agrees with me. It's only going to be hitting the ground with 110 because it's only 1 second in the gravity. All right, and this one over here, again, 15 seconds to fall. Yes, it'll be 150. So we both agree on this one, but we certainly don't agree on what's going to happen here. This one's not going to get 150. It's not going to get the same energy from the gravity that this one got, because this one has a pre-existing velocity, and that pre-existing velocity means it's going to move through the gravity much faster. So, yes, you're an idiot. You're wrong. All right, so you just type this shit, but you're actually wrong. Okay, it's just a fact. No, I just did the actual math. It can't gain if it's not in the fucking gravity, okay, moron? It can't gain, okay, 15 seconds worth of gravity if it's only in the gravity 1 second, moron. Those are the facts. Well, you're not, okay? So you're done here because you're not right, you're not correct, you're just lying to the audience. You have zero evidence that your crap is the truth. Zero. Ugh, people. I mean, look, regular physics people should know that, yes, this is absolutely true. I mean, if I went up in a hot air balloon and shot a gun, the bullet is not going to collect a whole bunch of gravity because it's not going to be in the gravity very long. It can't collect a force that it isn't collecting, that it isn't in the force to collect. It's just an absolute fact that clearly if I shoot it this way, it's going to fall at a set rate. Obviously, if I shoot it this way, the bullet is going to just annihilate any of that collection. The collection is going to end because the bullet's going to hit the ground way before it had any time to collect any fucking progressive amount of decline. It can't do a progressive amount of going down if it's already hit the ground. I mean, duh. I mean, these are duh kind of arguments. I mean, frankly, I shouldn't have to argue this with reasonable human beings. I mean, you know, these people are just so fucking dishonest. All right, cart A ran away from the fan much faster. So again, it's somehow absorbed its whatever whatever the force is, the 10 pounds of force. Somehow it magically ran away from it faster. Even though it's supposed to be harder for it to be moved twice as fast, it was really easy for it to move twice as fast. So you're just lying. All right, the fan on cart A had to apply the force across a span of space 4 times longer. There's no 4 times longer. It's the same amount of time, so just keep lying about the time being different. The time is exactly the same. So this is all lies. Work on force times 4 units of distance. Work on cart B, force times 1 unit of distance. So again, yes, and obviously whatever you're trying to contrive here, it's not about how far the slow cart travels, and it's not about how far the fast cart travels. It's about the simple fact, okay, that one of them absorbed, okay, 4 times the velocity, and one of them didn't. The fan pushing the lighter cart did 4 times the mechanical work. So you say so. So there's no evidence. The fan has pushing with the same 9 pounds. Somehow the lighter thing absorbed all of that energy so easily and multiplied it and, you know, went so fast. And again, in the other experiment, they're claiming you can't move light things fast. You can't throw a bowling ball twice as fast, a half as light bowling ball. They're saying you need 4 times the energy, you know, to throw an 8-pound ball twice as fast as a 16-pound ball. They're telling you need 4 times the energy because it's so hard to push light things. Well, this experiment's showing it's really easy to push them. So you are the one stuck with a grotesque contradiction in your lying sack of shit, banana up your ass drivel that you have typed here. It's just a gross contradiction, a gross lie. All right, the fan system over the path of time is long. Therefore, the system... No, so there's no long path. It's the same exact amount of time of the fan spinning. They both get the same exact amount of energy, so just keep lying. All right, so the math balances perfectly. It's not even close. Fuck you. This is all just lying. You call this... No, I call it lying, okay? You call it... No, I call it lying, okay? Let's see. You're like a man who hires 2... contractors to push a lawnmower. You pay them for an hour. One pushes the mower through a thin grass. So there's no thin grass anywhere, right? We know that the lighter mass is supposed to be harder to push at a higher velocity. So that's your own claim. You can't contradict your own fucking claims. In the very paragraphs that he posted on the previous board, and he actually linked to this shit from that board, he claims exactly the opposite, that the light things are full of inertia and they won't be pushed. I mean, it's just fucking bullshit. Anyway, the other pushes the mower through the thick mud and covers 1 acre. So again, this has nothing to do with what took place in the experiment. There's no analogy to any thick or thin grass. So again, just more lying. Okay, But clearly, the lighter mass is clearly easier to push, and therefore it was pushed 4 times the amount because it's 4 times lighter. And that's the only reason why it went 4 times faster, is because there's 4 times less of it to be pushed. Obviously, when there's 4 times less of something, there's going to be 4 times less obligation regarding whether you're trying to clean it. You know, if there's 4 times the mud on a surface, if there's anything you're going to do, if there's only 1/4 the amount of mess to clean up, it's going to be 1/4 the time to clean it up. You're going to have to do 1/4 of the work to clean it up. So it's just so obvious that's why it goes twice the fast. Oh, so you're just such a liar. All right. I can't believe he could waste this much time typing these many comments. Look at all this crap. I mean, it's just incredible. How does this moron, and this is like some kind of brozo who just types, just dribbles, it just flies out of them. You know, but it's all crap. So let's read a little of this. Your tidal force is momentum, is dimensionally incorrect. So we already said this dimensional crap. Force is measured in newtons. Well, it's just a waste of time. Okay, let's just not even bother. A salary of $100 per year is the same thing as having $100,000 in the bank. I don't know who's saying that. So again, more bullshit about rates and acceleration. Energy is a scalar. Okay, you can just say that forever, and I'll just say, saying to me energy is a hobgoblin is just wasting both our times. So until you make a scalar real by showing me something scaling, I can show you something vectoring. You'll never show me anything scalaring. Okay. Because net energy would be 0. The fact that people die in car crashes. So there's no proof in car crashes. So it's 0. Okay, the Mythbusters crashed the car. So just keep lying again. The 100-mile-an-hour car only crashed twice as much as the 50-mile-an-hour car. So again, just lie, 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 lie. Let's see. So this guy's just a sock account master here. So he's just posting again with a sock account. You know, what is your obsession? Okay, I'm not interested in your lying arguments. Okay, so just fuck off. I mean, I gave you a timeout. You can't even respect that. And saying, okay, I'm not going to bother doing this. You want to keep harassing me with your lies? That's your business. But I don't have an obligation to respond to liars. Okay, so he says, but because of the quadratic increase in kinetic energy with respect to velocity, the increase in kinetic energy will be the same as when you just drop the bullet. And it's just, obviously it can't. It's the same. They're the same weight object. How can the kinetic energies be different? Their velocities are the only thing you can change. You can't change the masses. And it's just an absolute fact that the fucking bullet I shoot into the earth is not going to collect gravitational. It's not going to gain anything from gravity. NASA engineers will tell you that. So I'm just saying this one I'm sure of. So fuck you in the ass till dead. Asteroids do not gain any significant velocity from the Earth's gravity. It isn't even really an influence. All of their capacity to create destruction is created by their pre-existing velocity, not what they gained from the Earth, because they're in the Earth's strong gravity such a tiny amount of time. So I mean, you're just lying. All right, so for fast objects, small increase in velocity corresponds to large. They're both the same size fucking object. You're shooting the bullet and you're dropping the bullet. It's the same fucking object, retard. So fuck you and yes. ChatGPT is Wikipedia. There's no point in asking it. It's an idiot. It doesn't know the truth. You ask it if it takes 9 times the fuel to go 3 times as fast, and it'll say yes, because it's an idiot. You fucking idiot. All right, so we're done with you. So I won't time you out because you're just, this sock account shit is just bullshit. Fuck off. Conservation of momentum comes from the fact that physics is the same here as it is 1 meter. It's the same as it is from, a lot more than that, but whatever. Again, there's no point in talking about conservation of momentum because your theory is going to produce, okay, with your 4 times the energy in an object that has the same momentum. How can that make any sense? if it has 4 times the energy, it has to be able to transfer 4 times the momentum. It can't not transfer 4 times the momentum. If it doesn't transfer 4 times the momentum, how did you conserve the energy? You can't conserve it if it can't be extended. Okay. Because space and time are direct dimensions, so is this more wasted time on space? And I don't have to believe in that crap, that space or time is a dimension. But even if you idealize vacuum, whatever this is, spherical cow world where the force is magic and constant. So again, there's no fucking extra force. You possess force. It's a quantity of motion. You collect the quantity. And then when you have it, you have it. And then when something hits you, you might lose it, and then you'll lose your quantity. Every collision is an exchange of people's quantities. All right. Do you honestly believe you did the same amount of work on both scenarios? Well, I'm just not even going to bother talking to you. But I obviously believe that the two could only pull the same force out of the same pressure. So that, yes, the same pressure was applied. They both collected the pressure. So, yes, just keep lying. Momentum and MV. Energy is 1/2 MV squared. You can keep lying about that, but fine. That's your prerogative. Believe in hobgoblins. One is linear with V, the other one quadratic. Again, it's just silly talk. Every single time you convert energy from light things to heavy things, or heavy things from light things, you cannot conserve both. It's just a pile of absolute logical garbage. Let's see. The fact that you prefer linear does not make the quadratic case to exist. Yes, it cease to exist. Yes, it does, because there's no evidence of it. It fails every test. It fails the lever, which you lie about. It fails ballistic pendulums. It fails rockets taking off. It fails rockets navigating in space. It fails every single test. It just means you are ill-equipped to calculate, yeah, whatever, fuck you. Stopping distances, again, we know that's meaningless. Master class in Dunning-Kruger again. So, again, I don't have to take this shit from you, moron. Go fuck yourself. Again, with the bananas you eat. It's not about bad science. That is blindness, so fuck this bullshit, yeah. So, anyway, fuck you. Yeah, we're not going to bother anymore playing with you, because you just keep lying constantly. Every fucking paragraph. Well, every fucking sentence, frankly. So they can't deal with this experiment, actually. They have no counter argument. All right. They don't have any counter explanation. So they're not claiming it didn't happen, but they're somehow claiming that somehow this fan is magical. Because where every other pushing object couldn't possibly make the one mass go twice as fast, 3 times as fast, 4 times as fast, it can't possibly do it. Can't do it with a stick on a lever, can't do it on a wheel, can't do it anywhere else. Nowhere else can I get the one mass to go twice as fast, 3 times as fast, 4 times as fast. I can't do it, can't make it go. Here, it's doing it well, like such ease right in front of our face. It's doing it this. We didn't have to, we're not, let's just, wow, look at it go. No problem. No inertia. So why isn't there any fucking inertia problem in this case? But the obvious answer is just because, yes, it's always true. It's always about momentum. And the fact is, it's really easy to push light things, and it's hard to push heavy things. That's the actual truth. It's not hard to push light things. Okay, it's hard to push heavy things. Yeah. Fucking idiots. Alright, well, maybe I'll call this a show and save some stuff for later. Anyway, so till the next time and such.